All right, we're getting ready. There we go. There we go. I just got the notice. Let's see. We're ready.
Live.
We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. Oh man, am I ready? I am so ready. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are live. So welcome to the, wow, could you believe it? 148th show of our roundtable, which we are now calling our current event show. And basically the current event show, excuse me for not introducing myself. I'm Jan Landy. We got a panel of experts here, or people that we love, either way, depending on what you feel or how you feel. Or I love them all, and to me, everyone on this panel is an expert. So that's really great to have it here. But this is our 148th episode of our current events Mastermind Roundtable. Today, if you're watching, it's March 22nd, and it's 5 o'clock on the West Coast. And I'd like to say welcome to everybody and welcome to spring. March 21st was the first day of spring. And so how is everybody doing out there? And have you experienced spring yet?
It's raining.
Well, yeah, those April showers, bring May
March.
flowers.
March, everything in California is a little earlier.
That's right. Yeah, California's early. You are having those atmospheric rivers that are going on right now.
Yeah.
And how is that affecting you? So it's raining, right?
Yeah.
Hey, we got two people from Arizona in the show today, Sam and Fred. And Arizona, what's going on over there?
Well, to tell you the truth, I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico these days, but I still keep in contact in Arizona since I'm still a compliance broker there.
So what's happening in New Mexico? What's the weather like?
Well, it's raining in Arizona. So
okay. Well, I know in Mexico it's hot tamale, and what is that? What is that? That's hot tamale. Boy, that's an old joke. Anyway, hey, well, anyway, this is it. Just remember, everything you hear today is an opinion, and we're gonna, one of the things we're gonna get into today. So stick around for the concerts and how it's affecting us, because the concerts are going through the roof right now, and there are millions of them out there. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of artists are on tour, but the prices are getting crazy. And but before we do that, I wanted to say that this is a really cool story. The Golden Pass Express train. Have you heard about it? It goes from Montreux to Lake Geneva or Interc. In Central, I'm destroying the names of these towns. But anyway, they've named the train the Shania train, because she actually lives there. So basically, if you want to go in, if you want to travel in Switzerland, you can take the Shania train. I thought it was funny. I guess you guys don't. Oh well.
Yeah,
any comments on that?
Spelled Montreux.
Yeah, Montreux. Yeah, but you could take the Shania train. You get it? Not Shania Twain. You got to explain the joke. It ain't good. All right.
You don't have to explain the joke.
Anyway, I got a letter from Michael Strickland, and it really made me think. And I'm just going to read just the first paragraph of it. It was 3 years ago, past Monday, that all of our lives would change forever. Friday, the 13th of March, 2020, was the day all live events stopped in the United States, and a day we will never forget that day. And he is right about that. I don't remember exactly where I was. I know I was in Las Vegas when it started to really hit, and it was a crazy time. But now everybody's back to them being busier than ever. So how did it affect your lives? I know how it affected mine, and I'll talk about it. But David, how did it affect you?
When I work, I go out and work. When I come home, I'm home. And I'm home a lot because the acts that I used to work with aren't around anymore. So it did definitely change my life, but we just refocused it. Myrna and I were here in the house, have a beautiful home, and we just said, okay, it's time to start organizing the house. And we started in the basement, And we worked our way up, and we just started you couldn't throw anything out because all the you couldn't donate stuff because all the donation places were closed, but we could throw things out. So we threw out 50 garbage pails full of stuff, but there was a lot of stuff we wanted to donate. And so we just filled up our dining room with boxes and bags of things to donate. And we went through the entire house, including the basement, which hadn't been gone to in 40 years. So we've been here a long time. So
how did it affect you that you couldn't work?
Well, first of all, the government started giving us money. And that wasn't bad because I wasn't making a whole lot to begin with because of my schedule. So it really didn't affect me. Our expenses aren't that high. Let me put it this way. We're really fortunate that in this point in my life, 3 years ago, I didn't really have to work much. Myrna was still getting checks in from kids who were on television shows and stuff like that, residuals that were coming in, even though they weren't filming anything new. Money was still coming in. We were one of the very fortunate few people who really weren't badly affected by this in the beginning. And after a while, a couple of years of not working, but still with the government giving us money, it turned out to be okay for us. And, I think about all the people who really had a hard time and I feel bad for them, but I'm not one of them.
Josh, what about you? Let's talk about you. What happened with you during that period of time?
I ended up working at a full-time job until I was able to get out and do shows again. So yeah, I couldn't do any live shows, so I just went back to working a full-time job, and that's all I did.
Good. We're going to come back to that because I want to talk about that in a second. But Fred, what about you? Now you were doing all these broadcasts, and how did it affect your life?
Really, just the travel and dealing with the idiots that didn't want to wear a mask on a plane, and all the stupidity of masks and how the masks just screwed with people. I mean, it just amazed me that, the people would try to pull the medical card but then didn't have the medical card to prove, their cause. And it just, the lunacy of it all. But as far as working, television goes on. I mean, television happens, sports happens. Sports stopped for like a week, I think it was, but as far as the rest of it, it was just dealing with the plane, having 1,000 apps on your phone because you had to check in everywhere you went. And the only time I really had a problem was when I went to the East Coast, somewhere in New York. I landed, and even though I had a letter that said that I was an essential worker, they wanted to try to hold me at the airport. And then somebody else came along and they grabbed me and said, "You're coming with me." And I'm like, okay. So I didn't get quarantined, even though I was supposedly coming from one of the bad places.
Right. Now, sports, if I remember correctly, basketball was one of the first sports that came along by creating the bubble. Isn't that correct?
I think so. I was not part of that. I was doing other things. I did not go get into the bubble. But I was always working. I don't think I was working as much, but it was.
So do you think your income level was affected by this?
It probably was, but like David, my wife and I were at a point in our lives where we pretty much own everything. We're not in debt anywhere. And so it didn't affect us the way it affected a lot of other people. Matter of fact, I ended up helping people by loaning people money, which I normally don't do, but in times you deal with it with friends and you just suck it up. Sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's not a good thing. So, but
right. Well, I have a policy on lending friends money. I believe in Shakespeare in this case, never a borrower or a lender be, as the advice that Polonius gave to Hamlet before he went off to school, But then again, I also always lived on the advice is that above all else, thou can, be true to yourself because thou can be false to no man. Yeah. So like that's how I felt.
Of it, that experience was positive. I had one or two that, because it was a handshake agreement, there was no paper written, there's no legalese, nothing to fall back on. There was a couple of them that, they're not really friends anymore, but you live and learn, I guess.
Well, here's the deal. When you lend friends money, you always have to figure that it's a gift, because the odds are that they're not going to give it back to you. It's just, there are friends that will give it back to you. But whenever anybody borrows money, they never borrow it with the intention of not paying you back. They want to pay you back, but something else comes along where that money is more important in another area than back in your pocket. And so that's why I say that if you ever lend anybody money without documents, you got to figure that it's a gift until they give it back. And then you find out what your true friendship is all about, what your friendship is all about.
I was just going to say that's the difference. You find out who your true friends are and who are just associates.
That's right. And it doesn't matter how much money you have or whatever, it's still the principle. And the interesting thing about it is sometimes you might forget that you lent them money, but the person you lent money will never forget it. Every time they see you, they will think that they owe you money. And usually they'll bring it up and they'll say, hey, I'm sorry I owe you this money, but Fred, I want to assure you this, that I would rather owe you this money for the rest of my life than beat you out of a penny, and that's how I feel about it. So thanks, Fred, for the loan.
Jan, you remember, I want to remind you that back before the real estate crashed, I went out and I bought some condos in Vegas. And I had a friend who Jan knows who said, yeah, I'll lend you some money.
He's been on the show too.
And he gave me, I don't remember if it was $100,000 or $200,000 to go in on this stuff. And Jan is going, there's no way. He wants something. He was convinced that there was something nefarious going on. And the end result is that he was my friend. He lent me the money and I ended up paying him back. And everything worked out great. But
No, actually, if I remember correctly, David, it wasn't that it was something nefarious. I kept telling you that was a bad investment. It was a bad investment. And it turned out I was right. It was a bad investment.
But you were wrong about Shimon.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I just felt that there was something that wasn't a good investment because of the way the real estate market was structured and the way those properties were being purchased. That's all there is to it. But I don't want to go into it here now because that's yesterday's news. Okay. Anyway, and I want to hear from Sam. Sam, how were you affected by COVID?
Well, I moved in with my girlfriend in Cave Creek, Arizona. COVID hit, and I'm a retired compliance broker working for a real estate firm. And frankly, the real estate boomed. So that was my best couple of years. And we eventually sold her house at the height of the market. She got top dollar and moved to Albuquerque because she had a brand new grandson. So it was all good for me. And we got along for 2 years, no arguments, little stress, but we got along.
All right. And Wayne, what about you?
Well, during COVID, the Australian government.
First of all, Wayne, tell everybody where you're from.
I'm from Wagga Wagga in Australia.
Australia. So we're international in scope.
The thriving metropolis of Wagga Wagga. And so COVID here, when we were locked down, thanks to the Australian government, they gave us, I was a job seeker already. I did that just before the COVID started, which is basically Social Security. But they doubled our payment for job seekers. And anyone that had a job, even a part-time job, got $750 a week while the COVID was going. So it's hard to say whether anyone, I would think some people got more than what they would regularly get in their casual job. But I can't really say, each person needs to look at their own situation individually. But for me, I did better while the COVID was going than I did while it wasn't going.
But didn't you miss mixing shows?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And our lockdown was on and off. I don't know if yours was continuous for that period of time, but ours was on and off. And I remember setting a complete theatre show up the whole day before. We were doing the drum check the next day. The keyboard player just got in. then we got the message that at 5 o'clock that day, everyone was locked down. So that show, which we took a whole day to set up, didn't go ahead. I'm going, why didn't they lock us down at 12 o'clock at night? We would have got or midnight, we would have got our show in. Anyway, the show happened later, but that happened a few times where we got pretty much halfway through the setup and then it stopped. I don't know if that was happening in the US of A, but certainly was happening here quite a few times that happened. Oh, I mean, we certainly, it made a mess. I wasn't doing great in the audio world, but once COVID hit, it was just, it was the no financial, not enough.
I have a question for you in regarding telecommuting. Were you able to do any telecommuting on the broadcast aspect, or did you always have to go to the location?
Say that again. Are you asking me, Jan?
Well, no, because we know that you didn't do that, but Fred's in broadcast, and I was curious to know.
No, the cloud stuff really wasn't kind of in place at that point. I do more of that sort of stuff now than I did during COVID. But I was going to jump back in and say the one good thing about that time was planes were empty. It only took me 10 minutes to get to the airport because there was nobody on the freeway. So there was a lot of kind of good things about that time because everybody just stayed home and there wasn't just, you could go to the store and it wasn't crowded. And, once they started letting people out again, it just, like the world kind of, it takes me, if I don't leave my house before 5:30 in the morning, it takes me almost 45 minutes to get to the airport when normally it's a 10-minute drive.
Isn't that crazy?
It is.
It would have been a lot less pollution, you would imagine, in a lot of.
Yeah, we did. We had a lot less pollution. Yeah. There was a lot of really good things that were during that time.
Yeah. Well, for me, I had been telecommuting for years, based on building up our internet business. So it didn't matter where I was located, but the business kind of stopped. It was almost like I remember somebody had mentioned 911. I think it was David, and what happened at 911. And I remember for 2 weeks, the phone didn't ring, nothing happened, nobody spoke to anybody. It was just, it was completely flat. Whereas with this, it became flat, but people were talking. And then, of course, as we started becoming around, that's when Zoom became so huge as it is. And there were all sorts of Zoom meetings and people were meeting on Zoom. And, but before I get into that, I just wanted to say it affected my life tremendously. First of all, I had to, I've always had the philosophy that if you're not the lead dog, the view never changes. That's number one. And number two is if you don't bend with the breeze, you break. And in thinking about that, we had to revamp our business and look at a different aspect because we were dealing exclusively selling gear to the live concert industry. And there were no shows going on, so there was no gear being sold. But then we realized that the install business, that people were really taking their gear and cannibalizing their live touring business by selling their gear to installs. And then we found out that the church business started to get very big and they were doing outdoor shows and they needed stages. And we moved into the mobile stage business really quickly and that made us survive. But the biggest change for me was I decided to go on a vacation because I had heard that, being an older gentleman, I had heard that Phuket had created a sandbox here in Thailand where this island, nobody had COVID and you had to prove that you didn't have COVID before you got to the island. And then you had to be tested and you had to be in quarantine for 2 weeks. And so I decided to come to Thailand and yada, yada, yada. I'm still on vacation here, 2 years later. So, it's pretty good. And Tina, I don't know, Tina, I would say that, Tina's now working, I don't know how many hours a week she's working, probably more than ever before, but she's working from anywhere she wants to work. It used to be that we would have to go to the office. I had this philosophy that if you weren't in the office, you weren't working. But now, as long as you get your job done, doesn't matter. And so you have much more freedom. Am I right?
Are you traveling much to the Philippines or the neighborhood islands?
No, the Philippines just opened up. Everything is now opening up right now. Everything's opening up right now. China just opened up. Actually, I don't know if it's completely open yet, but people are starting to travel from China. As a matter of fact, I have friends here who are living in China who are now finally out. But China was open. New Zealand opens up at the end of this month, I believe. The Philippines is probably open. But because of the way the government worked, I never went there because it was just too frightening to go there with the way COVID was going on. So there wasn't a lot of traveling. Now there's a lot of traveling going on. And the other thing, which was the other thing, was the planes were not flying. There were no planes. So the major hubs for Asia are Hong Kong, Singapore, Shanghai, and Beijing, and South Korea. Those are the main hubs, and those were mostly all closed. It was, I mean, when I would fly from Las Vegas or the United States West Coast to Asia, you'd fly through Hong Kong, and Hong Kong then would be the hub, or you would go to South Korea and then go from there. But those airports were closed. So there was no way to go, and there weren't that many flights. So if you look at a map, I had to fly from Phuket here in Thailand to Germany. I had to fly to Frankfurt, and then Frankfurt to the United States. Or another time I went through Qatar. I had to fly to Qatar, going completely in the wrong direction. And it was, it was a journey and a half of multiple days. Horrible flying, 18-hour legs. Wasn't good. Anyway, so that's basically it.
You need to put Boracay on your bucket list, one of the most beautiful beaches in the world.
Well, that's great. Well, the beaches, there are plenty of beaches all over the world that I would love to go see. And we go to the beach kind of regularly, but you got to be careful of the sun because, at our age, the sun is not your friend, If you see those people that used to be sun gods, they look pretty damn old, for their age right now. So anyway, one of the other things that I wanted to talk about is that and I mentioned it briefly, that Zoom, and there's an article right now in the New York Times, and it's headlined, "Where did all your Zoom friends go?" And so basically, we used to have 20 people in the room. Now we have 7 people in the room, and people are working. I mean, it's not that they don't want to come. They're just busy working, and I'm happy for them, although I do miss them, So I am glad. I'm glad that people are working. I wish they weren't working at 5:00 on a Wednesday so they could come into the room, or 8:00 on the East Coast time. But, anyway, that's our industry. Anybody have anything else to say before we move on?
I'll be working next week, so goodbye.
Oh, no. Oh, well. Anyway, so right now there's a lot of things going on about fraud, and I wanted to bring that up. So you got to be super careful. If you listen to this, a staggering 721.5 million credentials were stolen, and 22 million devices were affected in 2022, according to the latest identity exposure report from the experts at SpyCloud. And there's an article on Google, and it's we're going to put the link in it. But basically, it really is a very helpful article on how to prevent getting your accounts hacked. So Tina will throw that in. But I have a guess. I have something. So financial fraud can happen at any time to anyone, but seniors, and we're all seniors, tend to be at greater risk. So 92,000 plus victims of seniors were taken for $1.7 billion last year, right? Guess what the breakdown of where this money was stolen from these people? Anybody have an idea who's taken this money from these people?
Yeah. Korea. Not Korea. Korea? North Korea.
Well, 15% of the seniors' monies were stolen from home caregivers. 17% of their money was stolen from friends and neighbors. And this is a staggering number, according to the government survey here. 58% of all the money stolen from seniors was stolen by family members. How do you like them apples? You're speechless. I love it. So,
opportunity.
yeah, family. You can't live with them, and you can't live without them. Anyway, on another note, there's a lawsuit going on right now. It's at the Supreme Court. Have you heard about this? Jack Daniels says a dog toy company is ripping off their brand. And so, as you know, it's called Jack Daniels Tennessee Whiskey. And the company, the toy dog company, is called Bad Spaniels Silly Squeezer. And if you look at the pictures, it really is a ripoff of Jack Daniels' logo. But will they win in Supreme Court? I don't know. But we'll throw the link in the chat. Anybody have any comments on that?
I think it is a ripoff. I've seen it. It's a ripoff. If you're using the likeness, it's not a parody anymore. You're actually making a huge profit from it. It is a ripoff. You didn't even get a license to utilize their likeness. So, I think it's a ripoff, personally. That's my opinion.
Oh, yeah, look at it. Sure it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if we should share a screen and show it. We got to move on. We'll throw the link in the chat. You look for yourself and
It's
see what
in the
it.
chat. I just looked at it.
Oh, good. All right, very, very good. Well, anyway, moving along. So a guy, this vegan guy, he just loves. He loves tofu. He lives on tofu, right? So he's living in the state of Maryland, and so he applies for personalized plates. And the personalized plate is LUV tofu. Seems simple enough, but the state of Maryland canceled his plates because it says they read it love FU. I think that's hilarious. Anyway. Love to F you. Anyway, all right. So now the New York Post, here's another interesting article here. By the way, does anybody here have personalized plates?
Well, my wife does.
There's some great plates. One of my favorite plates of all time, I still remember. You remember, David, you remember Angeline?
Oh, yeah.
So Angeline, she was married to this billboard magnate, and she was a singer, and wasn't the greatest singer in the world, but he owned this billboard company, so he was able to put her picture up on these huge billboards all over Los Angeles, right? And she was very flashy, and she used to drive a pink Corvette.
She still does.
Oh my gosh, I know exactly what billboards those are and who she is.
She was busty, and she was.
I was wondering why she used to be on billboards.
She's the first.
Yeah, her husband owned the company.
Okay, all right. Well, that makes total sense.
She was the first person to be famous for doing nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
The Kardashians stole her whole gig. Anyway, and I remember her license plates were TAKEN, taken. So it was.
I thought it was Lean Love, LEANLUV.
No, it was taken.
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe she had two cars.
Maybe she had two cars. Yeah, it's very possible. With the amount of money that guy had, very, very possible she had two cars.
I take pictures of license plates when I'm driving, and I've got some really good ones. But one of the ones that I didn't take, but I saw was great. It was PMS 24/7.
If you see my car, it's Wingman.
Right.
You know. So
Like a Seinfeld episode.
yeah, Wingman. Well, that was Ass Man, and CNN, where I heard the story, they actually did a parody with Kramer with the Ass Man thing, where he played the doctor. Anyway, listen to this thing along the same lines of this, and I'm reading this story. The New York Post is reporting that, there's a war going on in Ukraine. Everybody knows that, and everybody knows Russia is the aggressor in this. So New York Post is reporting that the Russian group Wagner, and they're the ones now that are recruiting mercenaries for to fight against Ukraine. They have turned to Pornhub, which is the #1 pornography website in the world, Pornhub, and their catch line is any fighters willing to raise to the occasion. Are they willing to rise to the occasion? That's it. And in the commercial, a blonde woman wearing red lipstick is seen twirling an oversized lollipop in her mouth, while a husky female voice purrs in the background. We are the fucking coolest private army in the world, and we're recruiting fighters from all over Russia. Don't whack off. Go to work for PMC Wagner. So anyway, I thought that was worth talking about today, just as a little bit of light news about the war. So anyway, did you guys see Top Gun Maverick?
Yes.
Well, Top Gun won an Academy Award for the best sound design. And I just saw this video on YouTube, which we will throw the link in the chat. And seeing we're all involved in the sound business in one way or another, the phenomenal job that they did in sound, this guy captures it, and you should really watch it to see the intricate details of what they went through to create the sound and how it affects the actual movie. It's really brilliant. It's a quick video. It's about 10 minutes long, and you will enjoy watching it for sure. It's why Top Gun won the Oscar for the sound. So I recommend highly that you watch it. Anybody see it other than me?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right?
It's an excellent movie.
No. The video on.
Oh, no, that. No.
No, the video on the sound design is really, really good. I mean, it's really, really good, what they did. And it's very, very impressive, especially when they were doing the sounds from the jet planes. And I think that the plane that he was on in the beginning, where he was breaking the speed limits, I think they called that the Dark Star or something like that. Anyway, that is, I never really gave it any thought because it was just so believable. But when you think about the workmanship that went behind that to make it so believable, you got to watch the video on YouTube. All right. So anyway, right now there is a huge shortage of labor in our industry. And the biggest problem in recent months is the lack of available and qualified crew members that aren't as experienced because the experienced guys left the industry. A lot of experienced crew guys left the industry. And there's a great article on Polestar, and we'll throw that link in the chat as well. Have you guys experienced, you guys that are doing work on a regular basis, have you seen anything along the lines of the work shortage in the labor field?
Yeah, I'm not really involved with that, but I know it's around.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
And there's
right
a lot of audio guys are bailing, and they're always. I get texts or emails from people daily looking for people in our industry to go do these shows. So it's definitely the COVID changed a lot of people's ideas about what they're going to do for a living.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like, there was that maybe they're not getting paid enough. Maybe they're working weekends and nights where they didn't want to work weekends and nights. There's no health benefits, all of these things have taken people out of our industry. Plus, of course, there was no work for a while, but they're not coming back because now they've got a job that works 9 to 5. They've got health insurance. They go home on the weekends. They have a real family life, and it's something that they wanted rather than, that what they thought they really loved, traveling on the road. But that gets really tiresome sometimes. But I would also think that they wasn't paying enough. And now listen to these statistics. Polestar is reporting right now that Billy Joel and Stevie Nicks, one night on March 10th, they sold 51,880 tickets and grossed, and I'm not making this up, $10,884,917 for 3 hours of work.
Which
Billy
is exactly
Joel, Stevie
going
Nicks.
to see them when they come to Arizona, because those ticket prices are going to be astronomical.
Yeah, and I was asked if I wanted to go for free, and I couldn't go. So I missed that show.
Now, I've seen Billy Joel many times. He puts on a great show. But is anybody worth basically $11 million for 3 hours? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I mean, now, all right, let's go on. So like March 11th in Newark, New Jersey now. Newark, New Jersey, Live Nation, one show generated $2 million. And that was basically a Bad Bunny show. And this guy right now, and that was low for him because he's averaging $12.3 million a show. Bad Bunny. I'm not making this up. This is from Polestar.
And he's the number one tour, right? Bad Bunny?
He was the number one tour, which brings us to what we were talking about before we went live, and that's Taylor Swift. And so listen to this. Taylor Swift opened the U.S. concert series with a 3-hour tour of her career in Glendale, Arizona. Swift kicked off the first concert for the 52-date Era show with a 6-long set from her album Love, right? Blah, blah, blah. She played Glendale with the Super Bowl. Now she's doing stadiums only. She's doing the NFL stadium tour, which is pretty impressive. Now, Fred, you were saying what about the show?
I thought that I heard that they added a second night, but I could be wrong. But that's kind of like what Scoville's doing again this year. He's doing what's his name, the No Shoes Nation guy, whatever his name is, stadium tours only.
Kenny Chesney.
Kenny Chesney, yeah. So
yeah, basically, what they're doing though in that situation is that he feels, from my understanding, he feels that the big arenas, the first world shows, they're doing the second string stuff now. They're doing the second cities, because they feel that's where the most money is for them right now, is in the second tier cities, because the first tier cities are being bombarded with high money shows. So right now, Taylor Swift, she's pegged to do $624 million, but that's nothing. They're saying before her tour is over, they're projecting, based on the numbers, that Taylor Swift will gross $1 billion.
What do you think it costs to put on the show? So, I mean, because you're talking gross numbers. So obviously, she's got to through and pay the venue and pay off Ticketmaster and God knows who else. So all that payola and whatever you want to call it these days. So what do you think she's actually making?
Well,
I would say that she is making the lion's share of that.
Maybe.
So here's what I heard about that tour. Number one, there are no buses on this tour. Everybody flies. So, and she's only working one place a week, multiple nights, 2 nights, maybe 3. And so the production shows up on a Thursday. They can do Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then Monday they can go home. They can fly him home and fly him back out again. But so they're saving a lot of money in a lot of ways by not having, 20 buses on this tour.
That's why I thought that they added a second night here in Glendale, because they,
Yeah.
like what you're saying, they're basically working Thursday to Sunday, kind of like what I do when I do my college football deal. So you get a couple days.
Yeah, but you're not making $12 million a night.
Yeah, but I'm not having to pay anybody either. I'm making my own money. I'm not responsible for all the rest of that stuff.
So I heard she does 44 songs in her show. It's 3 hours and 15 minutes, and she's got about 20 costume changes. And I've seen the costumes, and they're outrageous. They're wonderful. So she's putting out a lot of work for this tour. I'm not saying she's not getting overly compensated. I'm saying that she's working it, though. And she's giving her fans, because that's the way she is, she's giving her fans as much as they can. And I watched the video, and it looks like 80% of the people there are females.
Yeah, well, I think that Ticketmaster has taken a big chunk of that money. That whole thing. It's such a crime that they've cut out the venues and the local people. I can't go over to Glendale and buy a ticket. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, you can't go to the box office anymore and buy a ticket. You're right.
And go to the box office like the old days where you want to go to see a movie, you go to the box office at the movie theater and you buy a ticket. You can't do that for a concert these days. Anywhere. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree with you. But what I'm saying right now, where I'm coming, and I'm about to come someplace where you won't even believe what I'm about to say. But however, the reality is that a doctor, a school teacher, the school teachers are on strike right now in Los Angeles because the school teachers, you can make more money. They're saying they can make more money working for McDonald's right now than they're working and teaching school. And yet Taylor Swift is making millions of dollars a night. Billy Joel's making millions of dollars a night.
Entertainment, you can't do that. It's different money.
The school
like people are always going to pay for entertainment. That's what you always say, Jan. So with that said, I mean, comparing teaching to comparing entertainment, people go to entertainment shows so they could forget all the BS that's happening to them and just enjoy life. It's just a total, it's not even, you just can't compare it.
Don't compare the teachers to entertainers. Just think about the fact that these teachers are making $25,000 a year.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with entertainers. That's just not a livable wage. And these are the people in charge of our children.
Same thing with hospital workers. I mean, the hospitals have been overworked and overtaxed, especially during COVID. I mean, look at the people that are doing that. They were saints. But they're not making.
And the only people who's making money are the drug companies. They should be paying more. They should be giving back more to help the salaries with their money. Instead, they just pocket billions.
Well, I see that everybody's agreeing with me right now. So does anybody have a spare $5 million that they could lend me? Because I want to see Adele at the Coliseum during the F1 race. Because believe it or not, and this is even staggering my mind, listen to this. Adele is planning to perform at the Coliseum at Caesar's Palace, right? And we could be assured that her show is being offered in the $5 million Emperor package for the Formula One race at the Grand Prix. Now, this is what you get for $5 million.
Let me pause you because that's what someone had mentioned in our show a couple of weeks ago about that package. That $5 million for the room, but it was the Emperor package. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me tell you what you get. So tickets to the Adele show at Caesar's Palace. Okay. And it's from November 16th to November 18th. That's the race. This is the first. So, it's the formal listing of Adele that she's going to be playing there. All right. Speculate, blah, 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 blah. The Emperor package was announced in December, meaning Adele's has, so they didn't know if she was going to keep playing there, but evidently she is. So this article is a lot about Adele, but the Emperor package offers 5 nights at the Nobu Sky Villa, which overlooks the race front straightway and can host up to 75 guests. The villa is 10,300 square foot, 3-bedroom space with 4,700 square foot terrace atop Nobu Hotel. The terrace is just 140 feet above the strip and a conga line from Adele. So basically, you're really close, but for $5 million, you can get to watch the race and see Adele. Is that not crazy money?
That is crazy money. By the way, your camera's up.
Somebody will pay it. You're frozen, Jan.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm frozen over this. Yes, I'm definitely frozen. Are you joking? It's crazy. All right. And so, but if you don't have 5 million, you want to watch the race, Hard Rock now, and the new parent company of the Mirage just joined the list of presenting partners for November's race, and they are going to be building their own grandstand, and it'll seat up to 3,000 people. And I believe the initial tickets are going for $5,000 a pop. However, along with concerts, people are going to buy these up and they're going to be selling them for 10 times value. So do what you can if you want to go see the race. That's it. I think I'm going to rent my house out for $10 million. Why not? So, and to throw it in, I'll stay at the house with you. Now, how do you like that? Now there's the value, and I'll perform for you with that guitar right there behind me. Okay.
So does that mean you're bringing
Bo.
Forgot Bo back here with you?
Oh, don't get me started with the immigration business. Oh my God. The immigration business is horrible. Horrible. I mean, they have a government thing called something about limited paperwork, right? And right now, the Limited Paperwork Act, it's only to get her a fiance visa is only 15 single line space pages. Within each line, you have to document with documents. So basically, I'm looking at like maybe 25 pages of information that I've got to put together, including information about my parents, my grandparents, her grandparents. It is absolutely, they are, and if you want to apply, it's about 1.5 years in most major cities.
Remember
to get an appointment.
Right? You're in the sandbox.
Yep.
They're not wow.
So meanwhile, Thailand has offered a long-term visa for people like me. And it took me 1 month. It was 4 pages. It wasn't even 4 pages. It was 4 pages, double spaced, where all they asked me is a few questions. I had to submit a tax report, a tax return, and that was it. I mean, it was really simple. And they extended my visa now, what they call landed immigrant status. And I could basically work here if I wanted to. I only have to check in once a year. And if I leave the country, that's considered a check-in. And it was nothing. I mean, it was absolutely nothing to do. Easy as pie. And America, it's just off the hook crazy. It's one of my pet peeves. Anyway, there's some bad news I want to report. Willis Reed died. Now, I don't know if you guys know who Willis Reed is. Anybody know who he is?
Yeah, sure. New Yorkers.
New Yorkers will know about
Center.
This guy was amazing. He was a great basketball player. And when I was a kid growing up, Willis Reed, I was like a huge fan of the Knicks, and they won. That was the year they won their championship. And he had torn a muscle. He had some sort of he tore a thigh muscle, and he couldn't play in the finals. But he came out anyway and played, scored a couple of shots, and it just spurred the team on. And that year we won the playoffs. We won the NBA championship. That was an amazing year. 1969 was an amazing year in New York. The Jets won, the Mets won, and the Knicks won.
And we graduated college that year.
Yeah.
Well, you're a little older than me. I was thrown out of high school that year.
Yeah, Sam and I graduated together.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, moving on. It seems that California reels from the onslaught of another destructive flood. David, you're in California. How's it affecting you?
Well, it stopped raining.
This atmospheric river that's coming, and I think you got another one coming.
Yeah, I live in the hills, in the Hollywood Hills, and the hills are where a lot of these problems are. But my hills are more developed, so we really haven't had any of these issues that unfortunately people all around Los Angeles and California are having. So my roof doesn't leak, and I'm warm and I'm dry, so I'm lucky. That's all.
I've never heard this term before. Isn't this normally a El Nino or a La Nina or whatever the term is for the weather that's coming through? I've never heard this atmospheric river.
The atmospheric rivers have been around forever. They used to call them the Pineapple Express because they're coming from Hawaii, and the rain is warmer than if it comes down from Canada and Alaska. So the Pineapple Express was always the wrong kind of rain because it would melt all the snow before it was ready to be melted. Something has happened, and the Pineapple Express is still happening, but there's something coming down as well that's making it snow. So so they're not calling it the Pineapple Express now; they're just calling it atmospheric rivers. But it's the same thing.
Yeah. Well, it's a happy place to live. California is a happy place to live. But did you know that March 20th was International Day of Happiness? It was designated by the United Nations, making it its 10th anniversary. It was March 20th, in case you missed it. And does anybody have any idea what the happiest place on earth is to live other than Disneyland?
I know, but I'll let somebody else answer.
New Zealand.
Nobody?
New Zealand.
Finland.
Nope, New Zealand's not even in the top 10.
Finland.
Finland is correct. Finland, for 6 years in a row, they say that Finland is according to the World's Happiness Report, it ranks countries basically on largely on life evaluations from the Gallup World Poll. By the way, so number 1 was Finland, number 2 is Denmark, number 3 Iceland, 4 was Israel, 5 was the Netherlands, and the United States finished up in 15th place. So there you go. So if you're living in the United States, you're the 15th happiest country in the world.
What happened to Australia?
It's nice that they scheduled a date on my birthday.
Yeah, there you go. Happy birthday, Sam.
So that was the happiest place on earth for Sam.
Yes. Well, congratulations. You made it. You made it that far. So, I guess the last thing I wanted to talk about, today was, Rock Lidditz. You guys remember Rock Lidditz? I mentioned it a few months ago. Marty Hom, Charlie Hernandez, a bunch of other guys, decided they were going to get together and have this conference in Lidditz, Pennsylvania. And they formed the Academy of Life Technology, and they will offer 22,400 square feet of classroom, production space, digital labs, a common gathering area for students, and it's a location in a campus where the biggest names in the industry will gather to create, rehearse, and will offer a unique experience for the students, which would include Claire and Tate Towers. And most of the big tours are Claire is putting together the sound, and Tate Towers is doing the staging. So the applications are open for the fall of 2023, and successful candidates will be in class before moving to into the design. So basically, we'll throw that link up in the chat, and if anybody has anything to say about it, now would be the time.
Well, it's like tour management school. There's nothing to do with audio, really.
Anyway, last thing, just really quickly, Ticketmaster, speaking of, ripping off people and stuff like that. I remember it's an opinion show. They will refund, The Cure. Robert Smith demanded that they refunded some money to their fans. So Ticketmaster agreed, and they're going to return some money to the Cure fans who bought Cure tickets. And so anyway, that's basically all the stories I have for today. Next week, I want to talk about artificial intelligence. So, and how it affects us, and how we can use it for our betterment. By the way, Google just announced Bard. You know, I don't know if you've heard about this, but there's a few companies out there that are providing artificial intelligence for writing. One would be Chat GPT. They're the most famous right now. Google has one, Microsoft has one, but there is a really cool website called proximity.ai. If you get a chance, check it out. But Google just opened Bard, and they put me on the wait list, and less than 10 hours, they approved me, and now I have the ability to use Bard. And so we'll talk about that next week. I'm going to practice with it this week, see what it does, how I like it, and I'll report back to you guys. In the interim, is there anything that anybody else would like to say before we go off the air?
Oh, well, I suppose I could say from the Australia world, I had a good, excuse me, a good weekend last weekend. I went to a town called Hillston with a band called Wobbly Boot, who are very good country rock band, and and had a great time with everyone in that band in a little town called Hillston, which has 1,500 people.
Well, you're an amazing man at Hillston, and I'm sure you were a man amongst men there. You know, so
it's what you call the Wild West in Australia. No, it's not the Wild West, but it's certainly west. It's getting westerly.
Well, very good. Well, with that in mind, I think I'm going to say goodbye to our social media crowd. By the way, the audience is picking up. So if you like this show, remember to subscribe to it. Also, give us a thumbs up and make some comments. We'd love to see your comments. You can find us on all your favorite social media. Also, we put this out as an audio version on podcast, so you could find it on Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. So if you just want to listen to the audio version, that's available as well. And just remember, everything that you heard today is an opinion, and we really appreciate you coming, especially the panel. And thanks for listening, and thanks for watching. And I just want to leave you with this thought, as always: you make it happen. Make it happen. Have a great week, and we'll see you again next week on Wednesday at 5 o'clock West Coast time. Until then, you make it happen. Make it happen. Stay safe and stay healthy. And with that, we are off.